Yo everyone, welcome to another Let's Max Warframe, where today we're going to be taking a look at the latest melee on the block, the one that comes from Umbra himself, and that is the Skiajati. Obviously, there's likely to be some mild spoilers ahead, so if you're trying to avoid those, then it might be worth just looking at the modding rather than the rest of the video, and I'm going to put a timestamp in the comments below as to where the modding is. The weapon itself is the latest in the line of Nikanas, and clocks in with a base damage of 77.1. Vast majority of that is slash, and then a bit of impact and puncture. And it makes this ideal for stacking a lot of slash procs when you add in the 27% status chance as well. Then a 15% critical chance, 1.9 times multiplier. That is enough to make a Blood Rush build work, and work fairly well, especially with the really fast attack speed of 1.17. That's all I really have to say about the stats of the Skiajati. It's got worse damage than the Dragon Nikana and the Nikana Prime. Worse crit damage too, worse crit chance on the Prime. It does have better status though, so it is a bit of a trade-off there. That, plus the fact it has a cool mechanic as well, which is that on a finisher, it will cloak you for 5 seconds, which is pretty cool, and can help you get out of a sticky situation, especially if you're combining it with Umbra himself and his radial howl. It's like having a mini shadow step if you remember the old Naramon days before the focus. You know, this focus version that we're on now, whichever version it is. It also has the option to put on the sacrificial mods, which have their own Tau polarity right now, which you can't add on to the weapon, so try not to take them off. And they provide bonuses as well as the damage bonus to sentience. Going to talk a little bit about these later on in the video though. So how did I go about modding the Skiajati? Well, I've got two forms on here, both of which are Vs. I am going to explain why I've got the two Vs on here, because they're not necessary for this first build, but they are for the second. Now, on this one, start off with the stance, Blind Justice. I really like the Heeding Call, combo on this. I don't know why, but it seems to be kind of broken at the moment, I think. It's supposed to do a slam attack on every single combo, but honestly, it hasn't really been doing that recently, and I don't entirely know why. So yeah, I'm really not entirely sure about that right now. But it is definitely my favourite stance. I do think there's a lot of personal preference with the Nikana stances though. Tranquil Cleave and Decisive Judgment, I don't mind either, but Blind Justice is my favourite out of the three. Then we're going to go with our Umbral mods, Sacrificial Pressure and Sacrificial Steel. Now the thing about Sacrificial Pressure is, as you can see, 110% melee damage and 33% damage to sentience. 110% melee damage isn't great. It's a long way down on Prime Pressure Point. Long way down. However, combine it with the Sacrificial Steel and it boosts it up to 137.5%. Which, yes, it's worse than Prime Pressure Point. It is. It's like 28.5, I think, if I can do my math. Not entirely sure. But yeah, it is worse. But, I mean, True Steel is 60% and this is 110%, so it is very much more effective than True Steel. But the thing is, nobody uses True Steel in the first place because everyone's using Blood Rush, which I am also using on this build. But the thing is, on a lot of builds, like, I mean, this comes with what, 15% crit chance? Like, 15% crit chance is actually enough to make Blood Rush work. I've had a few people that have tried to tell me otherwise, but this is actually what it needs to be efficient and actually be better than any other build on the weapon. However, if you give it 31.5% crit chance as well, then you are going to stack that Blood Rush super quickly, and you're going to be in the realms of red and orange crits very quickly. So it is something that I really enjoy. Now the weapon also has 27% status, so Condition Overload. We're going to have more damage for every single time we proc something, which is really nice. Then, because we're running a crit build, we're going to go with Organ Shatter for crit damage, which is really useful. It brings it up to 3.6 times multiplier. And Drifting Contact, which is going to keep our combo duration up. You can sort of replace Drifting Contact with Naramon and the passive from Naramon. However, I like having this in here for the additional status chance, as well as not having to rely on Naramon too much. So it's definitely a personal preference thing, but it's the one that I prefer. And because we've actually got the extra polarities on here, we can actually do one of two things. Because this is massively slash, I would probably go with a viral build. So either we can go Vicious Frost and Virulent Scourge for a really high status. And the thing is, though, you're going to be proccing viral quite a bit. And you only need one viral proc. So what you could do, if you want to, you could go North Wind. And you could go with, I don't think we have enough room, no, we don't have enough room for Prime Fever Strike. So we could just go with the normal Fever Strike. Or you could even do this. Prime Fever Strike, and then if we find the dual stat, which is Vicious Frost, 54% chance to proc. In fact, actually, this is probably the better build. that moment when you accidentally improve your build, like right in the middle of doing the build video. So yeah, Prime Fever Strike and Vicious Frost to bring it up to a 54% status chance. You're going to be proccing Slash and Viral fairly often. I actually think this is going to be a very, very strong build, because you're stacking very quickly, so you'll get the Slash procs plus the crits. It is very, very, very good. Now, you don't necessarily have to use the sacrificial mods, but the thing is, if you former off those polarities, you won't be able to form them back on again. So the reason I actually did this, even though it worked out for this build, is so I can actually do this. So we've got Prime Pressure Point in here instead of the sacrificial one. Then we've just got Blood Rush, Condition Overload, Organ Shatter, Drifting Contact, and then in wrong polarities, yeah, Drifting Contact, Voltaic Strike, and Virulent Scourge. So this is actually more of a corrosive build. I probably could switch this out to being viral if I decided to switch out Voltaic Strike and Vicious Frost. There we go. So we've got viral now. But this time we've actually got Berserker, because attack speed is really, really useful. It's not the quickest weapon, 1.17. I mean, it's not. I say it's not the quickest weapon. That is actually pretty fast, but attack speed is always useful. This is the thing. Like, attack speed is useful for doing bits and pieces. And if you don't really care too much about the combos, then putting attack speed on and spamming E actually is very, very effective. And will stack Blood Rush quicker. Like, it is just a very effective build. Plus, you don't have to invest so much into really expensive mods like this one. This is what, 1, 2, 3 prime mods worth of endo and everything. So that's probably what, 120,000 endo and like 4 million, 5 million credits, something like that. Might be even more. It might be about 6, I think. So that's like 6 million credits and about 120,000 endo. Whereas this is just like a single prime mod. So yeah, it's going to be one of those ones of which you prefer. I actually run this first build more often than not, and now I've actually realised that going for the viral build is probably better. I'm going to be running that even more, but still, it's just actually how I decided to build it. Hopefully this has given you some ideas about how you want to build yours. So what do I think of the Skiajati? Is it worth forming up? And the answer is yes, I think it is going to be eventually. However, that's based on my own interpretation of what's going to happen next in the storyline of the game. It's been quite a while now, but back when Parkour 2.0 was being worked on, there was a trailer of a whole bunch of sentients at the C-Lab tile set, suggesting that at some point there would be a full-scale incursion of the sentients into our current solar system, and the end of the Sacrifice quest personally has me thinking the same thing. So what does this even matter, I can hear you asking? Yes, Blood Rush is better than Sacrificial Steel because nobody uses True Steel at all, not just because it's terrible, but the way Blood Rush currently stacks just outperforms it hugely. And the same is true of Sacrificial Pressure as well when compared to Prime Pressure Point. Prime Pressure Point is 27.5% more damage than the Sacrificial mod, even when you have the bonus from having Sacrificial Steel on there as well, so the two combined give you a better, the better number. When you look at it, you think, well, what on earth is the point here, giving us hugely expensive mods that aren't as good as the ones we already have? Well, I think that's where the additional damage to sentience comes in. I think that what we're about to see is the beginning of a new war against the sentients, either in our own current solar system or in the Tau system, hence the Tau polarities, at which point the Skiajati is going to outperform the other Nikanas against the sentients by quite a long way. 66% more damage against sentients is not something to be sniffed at. That's actually pretty sizable, and will mean that especially when combined with the resistance stripping of Umbra's Howl, it's going to shred them a lot better than pretty much any other weapon in the game. Even then, why does all this speculation matter? Well, that's because honestly, the weapon's not that great. Damage is alright, but honestly, the Prime and the Dragon Nikanas both outperform this pretty easily, especially when you start taking Ribbon Dragons into account. Even the Zor Nikana outperforms it too. As a weapon in the current system, it's just not as good as those. And if that's what you're worried about, then no, I'd say stick with your current Nikanas, it's not really worth forming this up. Even the cool special ability is only useful on a couple of frames really, just doesn't save it sadly. However, if you're like me and are thinking along the same lines of being a sentient killing weapon, then stick those former on there, and be ready for when those Battalists and Conculists come attacking. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Skiajati Nikana. I have a video coming soon talking about the upcoming stuff and some projects I've been working on, as well as a potential frame week coming soon. But for now, many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.